Several organizations, including Business Unity South Africa and Trade Union Federation Cosatu, want the Unemployment Insurance Fund to be placed under immediate administration. They are citing systematic dysfunction and deep corruption. Busa says it has been engaging with the government together with Labour at Nedlac to try and resolve the issues. Cosatu says people who have been trying to access their money have been waiting for months. What is the situation in the organization? We're now joined by the UIF Commissioner, Teboho Maruping. Thank you so much for your time, Commissioner. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Heidi. Yes, it's nice to be here.
It's great to have you in studio. We don't normally have you in studio. Let's just start off with these allegations about corruption and the fact that the UIF should be placed under immediate administration. Do you agree with that as the Commissioner?
I don't agree. I don't think it's an appropriate approach to resolve issues if there are any. But maybe on the three levels that they've raised issues. I think one, they're saying there's corruption. They've started investments as an area of corruption. There was a point where Honorable Olumisa raised issues around the corruption in the unlisted space and also the listed space. The President did institute an investigation that was led by a retired judge. The retired judge gave a report to PIC, and the PIC have implemented most of the recommendations that were brought out of that. And for the record, UIF investment are done by PIC. So if there's anything that is happening, PIC has changed their governance structures, their processes, just to make sure that what was recommended by the judge or that commission is implemented. Now, if you look at on the financial side, in order for you to put an institution like UIF under administration, UIF then should be in a financial difficult position. In 2020, we're sitting at 180 billion rands. We paid COVID 64 billion rands. We paid workers affected by business unrest. We also paid for the businesses in KZN affected by the floods. Our portfolio dropped to 100 billion rands. Since 2020 now, we've recovered again 235 billion rands. Now, we are in a solid financial position. Are we meeting our mandate requirements, which is pay beneficiaries? Yes, we do. We pay between 15 billion rands and 18 billion rands per year. But I would not lie and say there are no issues.
So what are the issues? Tell us what they are.
For example, I think one of your journalists was with me in Cape Town when we were launching the USSD. We walked into the queues and we saw the long queues.
Yeah.
And when we got into these queues, we were introducing the USSD and the app. And we were talking to the people on the queue, why are you here? And the person was saying, oh no, I'm here to check the status of my claim. And we took them through the USSD that you don't have to come here anymore. Use the USSD and dial these numbers and then you can go through and check your status. Some of them, they had the smartphones, we took them through the smartphone, how to check the status of the claim. So that reduced the queues. But then I went to Soshanguve in one of an uninvited visit, or we call it a mystery shopper. And guess what? To my surprise, someone asked me to pay 400 rands for them to process my claim.
They didn't know you were the Commissioner.
They didn't know I was a commissioner. So we paid the 400 rands because we wanted to see what South Africans go through every now and again. So we paid the 400 rands. I was with the CIO. We paid the 400 rands. We walked through the process. And then we went to the police to report the case. But I did alert South Africans that we've picked up such kind of behaviors in one of our centers. And we reported the police to the case to the police. We opened the case. 3 of the security guards that were involved have been dismissed. We are having a disciplinary process for the other staff members that were involved in the process. And I went to another center, again as a mystery shopper, picked up that people have been complaining that some people send us home at 12. They say we are not processing. So I went there wearing overalls, and they sent me home at 12. They said, no, we don't process at 12. So we took that supervisor to task again. So some of these things, I've raised them myself. I've been there to the centers to pick up some of these issues. So some of the issues they are raising are not really unfounded. There's basis to them. I've experienced them myself in person, as I was giving you an example now. So
what are you doing as the Commissioner to address these issues? Because one of the issues that Cosatu, together with Business Unity South Africa, have raised is the fact that you have unwilling staff at a lot of the UIF branches that are unwilling to work with people coming in to sort out their money, their funds. They are mistreated. The issue where you say after 12 o'clock we don't work,
Yes.
or just use the app, we can't help you. How are you going to address that? Because you also have a situation where some people don't have smartphones. Some people don't have access to smartphones or don't want to use smartphones.
Yep, I think actually one of your journalists from Cape Town did ask me that question. That, so what about someone who has no interest to a cell phone or a smartphone? I think our drive at this stage is, let's reduce the people in the queues. So the people that have smartphones, that have small phones, and they're willing to use them, at least let's remove them from the queues. So that the people that are in our queues are people that just want to speak to a warm body. And to that end, we've now, across the country, given people laptops. We are just finishing the final process last week. We are going to Northwest now to do the final 200 people that are receiving their laptops. The intention is we want people to be able to go into the queue. If there's a long queue, you can take your laptop, you can take your iPad or your tablet, go in the queue, do the process right in the queue. If someone say, I've applied, but there's something that is missing, that is not understood, you can just go in that queue before they even go inside and punch in the numbers or run the application through right in the queue. In some instances, we've introduced our mobile passes. These mobile passes are intended to go into the rural, the townships, where we know that people may not have money to travel to our centers. So we take these passes to these centers just so people can reach us much quicker. And we intend to bring more passes as well to the end.
So what are you going to do about the corruption, the allegations of corruption? I mean, you know, you've been to one or two branches, you've been asked for a bribe. I mean, that's absolutely shocking that they didn't even know that you were the commissioner. But it just shows you the level of corruption that's at play here. That maybe is 1 or 2% of what's actually going on.
True.
How are you going to get to the heart of this?
One of the things we've introduced now, we've introduced a cyber security solution. What a cyber security solution is able to pick up any unusual behavior in our claims, or if any nefarious, unusual behavior. If you're processing a claim that just goes over the limit of 60,000, even if it goes by 1 rand or it's 5,000 rands lower, because people are just playing around the numbers. And if one person is processing more claims than they should be, I mean, if you process, let's say, 60 claims, and within the time that you have per day, you can process 40, it's an alarm. Even if when you reach 40, it's an alarm, because you know you have limited time to process claims. That's the kind of technology we've placed. So it's enabled us to hit you. But what we also do, when we pick up those behavior, we don't rush you. We allow you to process, but we don't allow you to do the payments. And as soon as you can see that even in the account, there's suspicion in the accounts, then we arrest the situation.
So how many cases have you picked up now with this new system where you're trying to figure out what's going on?
Well, I think so far we have about a number of cases in KZN, in Mpumalanga, and Northwest. I can't give you the numbers. I don't want those people to get alarmed and say we pick them up, but we pick them up in those areas. And at
which province is your most problematic?
The biggest problem is the big centers. It's Gauteng, it's KZN. Western Cape is coming a little bit, but it's not many of our main problem. But the two, Gauteng and KZN, are our worst nightmares.
Are we talking about big money here that's being taken and misused? You know, for example, we say the process is happening, but you'll wait before the money is actually paid out. What money are we looking at here?
Actually, it's not a lot of money, because I think what these fraudsters that are trying to rob us, they're looking at small amounts, but in volumes. So it's like, it's 5,000, but if you do 5,000 and you do it over 100 people, over a couple of days. So, and that's why we are driving the volumes that a person process, because in that state we can pick up that, oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
And we arrest the situation there.
So do you believe that Busa and Cosatu's calls are unfounded? I mean, you mentioned earlier on that there are challenges, but I mean, to place the UIF under administration, or for calls for it to be placed under administration, and to call for the minister and the president's intervention, I mean, that's quite extreme, and they believe that the UIF is in dire straits. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree. I think it's extreme. As I was saying, yes, there's interventions that we're putting in place. I think just 2 weeks ago, we introduced a solution with ABSA. And we are going technology, we are going partnerships with the private sector, because we see there's opportunities there. An extreme case like under administration, I don't think is an appropriate step. I'm still calling upon our partners that social partners.
Not under administration, what is the solution to deal with these things? Because they speak about a systematic dysfunction and deep corruption. So if it's not to be placed under administration, what is the solution?
What I think solution, let's go back to the drawing board again. If they believe that our engagement are not bearing fruits, maybe we need someone neutral to engage us and get us discussing, arriving at a solution that will satisfy all parties. But I think for us to be engaging in the media the way we're doing now, it doesn't help any of the parties. I think let's give it a shot. If they're saying no, but UIF is not willing. I mean, the minister, for once, he has brought in PwC to look at the structure of both UIF and Compensation Fund. They've just concluded to give us a new structure that will enable UIF to be sleek, agile, and be able to be responsive to the needs of the country. So the minister is doing something. We are doing something on the technological side. We are introducing SEP. We've already deployed some of the solutions, but it's a step-by-step process. And I think they need to assess us on the things that we are putting in place and see to what extent are they taking us in the right direction or not.
Commissioner, I want to ask you, and maybe we can end off on this note. You know, the economy is really bad. People are losing their jobs.
True.
It's a real sad situation that we are faced with in this country. You obviously are seeing more and more people trying to come in to claim. Maybe just speak to us about the increase you've seen in the last year or in the last 6 months.
Actually, we're discussing now with the head of strategy. In the past couple of years, we were processing between 700 and 800,000. The numbers are now picking up. We are now processing about 1.2 million applications per annum. So that's a 400,000 increase in the number of applications coming through. And hence, we are also moving to technology because the pressure will start to mount. And I think it's quite a difficult situation in the country. And we need more employment initiatives to come on board. But I think once we introduce SEP and the technologies that I've implemented now, the intention is to process within 48 hours. That's where we want to go to. That you apply today, you have everything we require, is competent. We must pay you within 48 hours. That's our intention in the long run.
And that's how it should be. People should not be waiting months and months on end or queuing. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for coming in to give your point of view, given you are the head of the UIF. Thank you so much for your time. That was UIF Commissioner Teboho Maruping just speaking to us about the calls for the UIF to be placed under administration, and he disagrees. He says there are other alternatives to solving the problem.